Good afternoon to you. This is Good Afternoon Ghana. My name is Alifu, and we still continue to analyze the updates from the lower Volta Basin, where the spillage of the Akonsombo Dam is still affecting people. And as Metro TV has been doing on almost all programs, we're bringing you up to the minute updates of what's going on. So today we'll give you those updates, but also what came in yesterday was a Supreme Court judge, or a former Supreme Court judge, speaking about the activities of the Supreme Court and how the whole system has been set up to make up the Supreme Court, criticizes a few activities within the judicial system, and has also proposed certain solutions that will cut down on some of these suspicions that is bringing down the name of the Supreme Court, in his words, and that is in the person of Judge William Atuguba. We will go into that issue as we speak with some two lawyers from both sides of the bigger political divide. Let's see what they think of it. Is this, a good proposal to admit and see what usefulness can we add as far as the judicial service or the judicial system is concerned. We'll get into that later, and I'll give you the discussion as we come back from the break. The people we're speaking with today will be lawyer Abeku Dixon. He's a senior lawyer, private legal practitioner, and also lawyer Eric Dela Alifu will join us. He's also a senior legal practitioner, a private one, who will also join us to do this discussion. So let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll get into the details. All right, you're welcome back to the program. It's Good Afternoon, Ghana, and we're taking, you through some of the comments made by Judge Atuguba, William Atuguba, as he criticizes the current system of the judicial service and proposes what should be done about it. So let's call for those bites and go through, just in case you may have not heard or you didn't listen to him yesterday. These are some of the things he said.
Personal independence relates to the commitment of individual judges to the judicial values that ensure their impartiality and fairness. I'm here referring to values such as eschewing corruption and not allowing ethnic and other particularistic considerations to affect judicial determinations. Institutional independence of the judiciary, on the other hand, relates to the constitutional, statutory, and other arrangements put in place to assure the independence of the judiciary. Issues that are customarily dealt with under institutional independence include separation of powers, security of tenure for judges, including appropriate provisions on the appointment process of judges, the conditions of service of judges, and the process for the removal of superior court judges, financial and administrative autonomy for the judiciary. Measures are what make judicial independence justifiable. It would be unacceptable to have independent but unaccountable judges. Those who are steeped in rabid politics will just rub, he's an NDC. That's right, this type of life. Where we are today, that's what happens when people become hypocritical and become stupid. The executive powers of the president and his functionaries by the Supreme Court is, with all due respect, scandalous, in that the court, in the teeth of the settled maxim, res judicata et non quietem movere, re-adjudicated the same matter that has been adjudicated upon by the High Court on the merits. Never seen this type of thing in any judicial system. All that was left was its execution according to court processes. Again, the stress laid by the court on the statutory processes for acquisition and renunciation of citizenship shot itself in the foot If the certificate of renunciation is so mandatory and conclusive, why was it not conclusive in its effect to qualify Judge question when he received it dated 26 November 2020, whereas the parliamentary election was held on 7 December 2020? Statutes, judgments, and documents must always be applied with consistency, both in the letter and spirit. These must always be construed holistically and as instruments of justice, since it is a well-settled principle that the duty of a court is to do justice, and the court should not be turned away from doing justice. The Exemptions Committee's decision is final, and that's the substance of the matter. As for Gazette Dixon, are these people responsible for that? So they upheld their elections.
The retired judge of the Supreme Court, William Atuguba. So let's go on to the phone lines. We have senior lawyer, Abeku Dixon, on the phone lines to speak with him, have his take on some of these comments made by the former judge. Lawyer Abeku Dixon, thank you for your time. You're welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana.
You're welcome.
Great, thank you. It's really a privilege to have you. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you, too.
Right, let me ask, firstly, has it ever crossed your mind that in recent times, the backlash the judicial service has received is justifiable, and why?
Well, I do not think that all of them are justifiable, but of course some are. And I perfectly understand the concerns that the other people were expressing about the judiciary.
Why so? Okay, what are the some that you think are justifiable, maybe regarding certain cases?
No, for instance, just what Justice Atuguba just commented upon. Mm-hmm. The matter of James Kwesi actually had become murky. And of course, the involvement of the Supreme Court was a little bit surprising. But of course, they got the Supreme Court involved. So that, for instance, was something that made it look as if there was some interest somewhere. Instead of allowing the court or the law to run its course, we were doing something else, which I believe was unfortunate.
And I mean, having been a lawyer for decades, what do you think is in the missing link, that there is something somewhere? What is that something somewhere? What do you suspect? What made it so strange? What made the judgment strange to you?
Well, it has been very important that the courts do not allow themselves to be influenced by the excitement outside the courts, the public outcry, and the public pressure outside the court. The court is not supposed to bow to that at all. But the court is supposed to ignore it and just look at the law and look at the case before it and determine it according to justice. But I think that the courts have been trying to respond to the outcry and the noises and the maybe criticisms outside. And that's wrong and unfortunate.
But then,
I'm sorry.
But the court will also tell you, or some lawyers or some persons from the NPP will tell you that the court went strictly by the law. If you look at the Article 94 Clause 2, it will tell you what is required of a person to become an MP, and they will continuously refer to that, which if you read, you know that this is what the Constitution is required. In any case, Atuguba says, let's reflect on the letter and the spirit of the case.
Yes, I think that's very important. But you see, Atuguba's major worry is the infraction by the Supreme Court of reopening a case that had already been determined by the High Court. And the principle is that once a case is determined, no matter whether it was wrong or correct, once it is determined, it is determined. If anybody is aggrieved by the determination, he goes on appeal. If it doesn't come to you by appeal, you don't even have jurisdiction. So the Supreme Court didn't have to clothe itself with that jurisdiction to determine that matter. And that is what he's not happy about, and I agree with him. But you see, it's like the court is responding to the pressures outside the court. the noises outside the court. And that's if we allow that one to come in, it will infract on the justice that we are supposed to deliver.
Is that a fair comment on the court?
From a court.
Is that a fair comment to make about the court and its judgment, to say that it was pressured by the masses?
Oh, my comments.
Yes.
I think it is fair. Because you see, this what Justice Atuguba has just pointed out, it's very cardinal, it's very important. And it's really, to me, it's a disappointment. It should not have happened from at least the Supreme Court. It should not have happened, but it did happen. And I want to believe that that happened because it was reacting to the noises outside the court. So I believe that I've made a very fair comment about that judgment.
So, what do you also make about what he says? If you watch how appointments of judges are made, he says that judges' appointment must be based on merit, not cronyism, ethnicity, protocol, improper considerations, as he mentions, and describes the procedure and processes involved in appointing judges. Is that what you say, which people have criticized? Is that what you also benefited from? Is that what has been happening, being a lawyer for decades?
As a matter of fact, I will agree with him over 100% on that. When we are appointing judges or members of the bench, it's very important that we look beyond favoritism. We make sure that we select people who have shown by character and by knowledge of the law to be exceptional. And we put them there whose integrity can be vouched for. If we appoint people because of favoritism or political expediency or religious whatever, we are destroying justice. We are destroying justice. So I think it's important if we actually show that we are making appointments because we know the person or we related to the person in a way or we're doing some favor for somebody, it is just too bad.
Lawyer, is that what the situation is?
I wouldn't say so. I will admit that in one or two appointments, I was not so comfortable.
In the presence of?
Oh, I think that it's fair that I don't put down their names. You see, but for instance, Justice Atuguba, for instance, was appointed from the bar straight to the Supreme Court. I think by the PNDC time.
Yes.
And a lot of people were not happy about it. A lot of people are not happy about it because they felt that they hadn't heard of course, when you are practicing, you are not so heard of. They hadn't heard of the name and they haven't been able to evaluate him properly. And they thought that was a favoritism by the PNDC at that time, pushing him straight from the bar to the Supreme Court. But over the years, the man has acquitted himself and has shown that, yes, he actually is worth the appointment that was made.
When you say that he has proven himself, what did you do to prove himself? Because you still have some persons who will smear him with political colors.
When you read his judgments, it shows you that clearly this man understands the law and knows the law and is applying the law correctly. The judgments are actually the things that for us, especially for me as a lawyer, that is the thing I evaluate and judge on. The judgment should show the judge's understanding of the law, knowledge of the law, and application of the law.
So as a lawyer, you saw that clearly from at least how Justice William Atuguba did or carried out his job. Yes. But you cannot apply the same to current system we have. I'm not going to mention any judge's name, but right. At least the judges we have, you can't apply the same, that they are not, as in the case of Judge Kwesing, citing that as an example. You don't think that it is a fair judgment, and therefore we are not sure what judicial system we have today.
No, I think that, you see, what Justice Atuguba objected to was the breach of procedure. The Supreme Court breached the procedure by going into a case that was in the domain of the High Court, that had been determined by the High Court. The Supreme Court was not supposed to go back and review the case when nobody had brought it to them. in an appellate situation. In any case, the Supreme Court, by the Constitution, they don't have jurisdiction about parliamentary elections. It ends at the level of the Court of Appeal. So the parliamentary elections, first instance, it goes to the High Court, and then if you agree to go to the Court of Appeal, and that ends it. It shouldn't have reached the Supreme Court. So that is what he was complaining about, and it's cardinal. It's not only because it's a political matter. It happens in every case, for that matter. And when I talk of evaluating judges on the basis of the judgment they give, you see, for us as lawyers, we read almost every judgment, but the general public is always fixed on political matters, political cases. Sometimes I even took a long time to read judgments in political cases because most of the time, you know the outcome before it is finally determined. So I don't worry myself about that. But because people get fixated on political cases, they will want to evaluate a judge on the basis of that political fixation, that political case. But in most cases, it is other cases that show the death of a judge.
So the former justice actually proposes that appointments to the judiciary or any other governance institution must be made by thoroughly independent bodies based on nothing but merit and not on things like protocol, cronyism, ethnicity, or improper considerations. Do you think that, well, the Constitution, a lot of people, and I mean experts, professionals have called for amendments of the Constitution, but is this, a good proposal to consider?
Well, I think that we can, but you see, the Constitution also expects that the president, when he's appointing a judge, will bring to bear integrity, correctness, and all that, and will not appoint just anybody or people based on favoritism or party affiliation or religious connections or whatever. We expect that the appointing authorities will do the right thing. Even if you go in for what we call a neutral body. What is a neutral body? Everybody is aligned somewhere. It is important that we ensure that people do the right thing. Otherwise, you cannot be sure that this person will not favor somebody.
But we've tried this Constitution for over 30 years now. It's due for review. The review has been done a couple of times. We've thrown it on the shelves and we're not attending to it. However, we've seen that institutions that are protected by the same Constitution, gets worse by public opinion. The performance of these institutions dip by the public's opinion. So I think it is fair to try another system once reviewed by the Constitution.
You see, I do not think that the fact that we've done this Constitution for 30 years is a long time. A Constitution is not supposed to be tinkered with very often. We should have a Constitution forever. We should not be thinking of, we've done it for 30 years, so let's review. We've done it for 50 years, so let's review. No. It should be good enough to last us for a lifetime. A few issues can come up, and then we can correct them. In fact, most of the time, that is also another thing that the judiciary does. The judiciary is able to amend the Constitution for us sometimes when issues come up where you realize that, because of this, we cannot implement this aspect of the Constitution so well. Then the judges a case will come up, then they will determine it and give guidelines as to how we should be able to implement it. So I am not all for judicial review of the Constitution. I don't believe that the agitation for you write the Constitution should review it. I'm not comfortable with it at all. The aspects of it that are a problem. Yeah. Let's talk those ones. Let's debate it as a nation, and let's make proper recommendations for their review or their changes. But we are making it look as if the whole Constitution is a problem. I don't think so.
No, I don't think that's a picture we're painting. I think we're just painting and pointing out sections of the Constitution that are problematic, which includes that of the judiciary. However, but with the point you've made, if there's appointment of judges and there's a sense or a suspicion of protocol considerations, cronyism, ethnicity, and improper considerations, how will a people help reduce or eliminate that kind of practice?
Best thing is they should elect people with integrity, people that we can trust, who will be making the appointments. When we are going to vote, we tend to think that it's only for my party to win or for me to defeat the other person. But this person you are voting for is going to be wielding so much power, so much authority, to do so many things, including appointing judges, including appointing people who will expect that they will show that they are not biased. If the appointing authority that you are voting for doesn't have that integrity, then of course they will do these things based on what you call the protocol. I am even surprised that now, I mean, let's say at our level, we should be talking of protocols in the appointment of justice. No, it shouldn't come up at all. It shouldn't come up at all. We appoint electoral commission, and now we are all looking at changing the constitution to make sure we appoint an electoral commission this way and that. It shouldn't happen that way. We appoint the commissioner for human rights, and now we are looking at we have to appoint somebody who is not politically. But you see, the important thing is that the person who is appointed, if he really understands his position to be a neutral position, he understands that he's independent, he should show that. He should not be listening to his appointing authority. As soon as he's appointed, he's his own person. That is where we are failing to show that we can be that independent and we can practice it. You appoint me, yes, but that doesn't make me dependent on you or having to listen to you, or I have to try to do my job as I understand it. Be independent as I know my authority is. And they are all protected by the Constitution and the other laws. Except that we are not practicing it, which is why we are talking about reviewing a lot of aspects of the Constitution. There are failures there only because we are not implementing it properly. And when the people who are not implementing it properly do the wrong thing, we don't criticize. We only criticize when we think that it affects our interests. So that even our own approach to these failings is also partisan and very, very wrong. Right. So if we can be very, very up and coming and ensure that anybody who breaches the Constitution, we have to floor the person, it will be important, but the vote is also significant. In voting for political authority, make sure that you are voting for people that we can trust.
Right. Lawyer Dixon, we'll leave it here. I'm grateful for spending some time with us here. Good afternoon, Ghana. Thank you for speaking to us. Lawyer Dixon is a senior petitioner, actually, and those are his opinions on the retired Supreme Court Judge William Atuguba. We'll be speaking with lawyer Eric Dela Alifu a few minutes just to also get his opinion. Then we'll take you to Akosombo and give you a few videos that gives you updates of what has happened so far as the water continues to spill. But let's still have some other parts of lawyer Atuguba as we also wait for Eric Dela Alifu to join us. Eric Dela Alifu to join us.
The Supreme Court is the custodian of the Constitution. I could not condone its infractions. Yes, because you say you are a Supreme Court judge. You are to defend and protect the Constitution. And the provision relating to the Supreme Court itself is being fractured and you do nothing. Allow it to pass. Then what kind of Supreme Court are you? So, I therefore assumed the functions of the Chief Justice with clearance from the then most senior justice, who was then very seriously indisposed and handicapped, until I got to know from him very shortly afterwards that he had become fit enough to act as Chief Justice upon the death of the then incumbent Chief Justice. It is this event which led Kweku Bakum, a very prominent journalist, to state on a radio program that in the bid for the post of Chief Justice, I declared myself as the acting Chief Justice. But when the said most senior Justice of the Supreme Court got wind of it, he said, I'm quoting him, "You lie, I can act." When I heard that allegation, I was gravely hurt, since I have never in my life made any move to be appointed the Chief Justice of Ghana, because I consider lobbying for a position as a corrupt act, since it involves compromising one's conscience. These sort of things do not augur well for constitutionalism in Ghana, which it is the primary duty of the courts to ensure. Our 1992 Constitution has ordained constitutionalism for Ghana. This is plain from particularly Articles 1, 2, 3, and 35 of the Constitution, which provide inter alia for the sovereignty and welfare of the people of Ghana. The supremacy.
Retired Supreme Court Judge Justice William Atuguba also denied some allegations that at some point in the judicial, road, he appointed himself as the Chief Justice, which he thinks that he never did, and he knows the procedures that you have to go through to be appointed as the Chief Justice. Lawyer Eric Alifu is also a private legal practitioner, and with the NDC also, who has joined us to speak on this matter. Lawyer, thank you for your time. You're welcome to Good Afternoon, Ghana.
Thank you very much for having me, Annie.
I'm grateful. So, first, let me have your first take on the whole address by the Justice.
Well, I think the whole address is very good. We need this kind of programs for people who are experienced in this type of things to talk to us, to talk to the general public, and let them know how the system works. He, having been on the bench for a very long time at the Supreme Court for a very long time and has gone on retirement, he has a lot of experience. And so it was very good that the group, the Solidar, the group that put the program together, invited him to come and share his experiences. And he was able to touch on a number of things that many of us have talked about in the past, but we perhaps didn't have the courage as he does to talk about it in the manner he did. And so I think it's very good for us. We have to learn from this kind of experiences. When they were on the bench, they wouldn't be able to talk about some of these things. But now that he's not on the bench, he can freely talk about this. And he will not be hauled to the court like will be done to ordinary citizens who comment on some of these things. So I think it's a welcome program, and we need more of this program. So we are looking forward to many other think tanks organizing similar programs and bringing in experts to come and talk to us about how the judiciary and other institutions work to advance democracy in the country.
No, I haven't risen to that, level of a Supreme Court judge, a retired one, and providing an address of this nature. Does it make the judicial system appear worse than the public has probably painted it?
Well, I think, I don't know if it makes it worse, but it confirms what many people have suspected for a very long time. That is what it does. And because, you see, you always have people who will be defending the institutions, no matter what they do. And so if somebody, an insider, talks about these things, then it convinces people who perhaps may not be too sure or may be doubting some of the allegations that are made or some of the perceptions that are expressed. So clearly, it just confirms a lot of the ills that many people have noticed and have talked about over the period. So I don't know if it makes it worse, but I think that if I am a justice at the highest, at the apex court right now, perhaps I may be
You'll be worried.
Yes. So
So you think judges should be worried?
Yes, I do. And instead of them getting angry over some of these things and wanting to harass people and punish people, they should rather take this as healthy feedback and do some introspection, because that is what they are supposed to do anyway. But they are accountable to the people. And so if the people make observation and share the observation with them, they should be happy that people are sharing their observations with them. And then they should take steps to correct some of these things so that we begin to have confidence, better confidence in them, or more confidence in them. And so, yes, we for a very long time, we have been intimidated and we can't speak. And as we are speaking, even as I'm speaking now, I have to be looking at my back and see who is going to call me to where and say, oh, we heard you say so and so. But they shouldn't do that. They should just give us the room to air our views. We may be wrong. If we are wrong, they just tell us that, yes, we are wrong. If we are right, they learn from it, and then they correct some of the things they are doing.
As a lawyer, do you actually feel that sometimes the Bar Association or the judicial system itself harasses you when members of the association makes comments that, slums or puts the judicial system in a bad picture?
Yes, I do think so, and the examples abound. It's not only lawyers that they harass, for the Bar Association and the General Legal Council, they would invite lawyers and begin to ask them questions anytime you say anything that is critical about those associations or the judiciary. They expect us, see, I normally say that they expect us to behave like robots. It's like when the courts rule in a particular way, we should defend it, whether it makes sense to us or not, we should defend it. And so that is the law. That is that they are supposed to interpret the law, so they are interpreting the law, and that is the end of it. They are not, so it's like, don't think yourself. Just once they have decided, so explain to everybody that they are right. That is the law, and that is why they have explained. So that is what even senior lawyers always push us to a very tight corner to do. And so they don't leave us to think liberally, to look at the decisions that are coming from the court and the conduct of our courts. They don't want us to assess that by our own intellect, by our own brain. They just want us to say that because judges are appointed to do a particular job, so whatever they do, no matter how it is, we should explain to the people that they are doing their job exactly so. And I don't think that is right. So yes, I do think that not only lawyers, again, as I said, and examples are abound in the last few years where the courts always haul people into the court and then they cite them for contempt, and then they find them hefty amount of money and sometimes put them in jail. So that one, people will not struggle at all before they find examples of that.
So how do you solve problems of this nature where Atuguba cited an example of the Jachikwesin's case? If lawyers, feel intimidated, they cannot even criticize when they don't agree with judgment, because sometimes if you criticize, it's taken in a different angle, that you are, just slamming the judgment without doing constructive criticisms. So in a situation where you have an MP that is currently not holding himself as an MP because of the situation in court, and a lot of lawyers have actually criticized the judgment, including international lawyers. Now we have a retired Supreme Court judge that is also criticized by describing this judgment as scandalous.
Yes.
So if lawyers cannot criticize and take this, and this is a ruling by Supreme Court, it's almost like you cannot do anything about it because the highest apex courts. So what do ordinary people do where there's an MP or there's a person that is seriously affected? We had Domelevo's case that also came out, and you saw the results of it, but it was, rather too late that it was wrong judgment passed on him. So what do we do about situations like this? Because Lawyer Beku is arguing that the constitution we have is good. He doesn't agree with people thinking the constitution is, has outlived its usefulness, so let's change it. He thinks that if you vote for the right people, you can still help them to hold out the constitution and make it useful, which I think to some extent I agree. So what do we do?
Well, Annie, should I tell you what we should do? We should fold our arms and suffer the injustice. That is it. Because what else can we do? The people look at when a case was filed against the Electoral Commission for wanting to organize a limited registration in their district offices, and the opposition parties filed a case to stop the Electoral Commission, to place injunction on them, and then a date is given to them at a time that the commission would have finished the process. What are we supposed to do? Demonstrate? And for the police to come and beat us, they will not be allowed to demonstrate anyway. It is only in the last few weeks or so before the police are waking up that Ghanaians have the right to demonstrate anytime. So they will run to court, to the same court, and go and get judgment against people who even want to demonstrate. So what are we supposed to do? Just suffer the injustice until our courts, our judiciary, our justices begin to sit up and know that, look, they are not there to protect any particular regime or any particular person, but they are there for the people of Ghana. They are there to interpret the law in the interest of the people of Ghana. You see, until they realize that, and they don't care because their tenure is secured. Nobody is going to come there and sack them. So you can't say that because it's this person that has appointed me and I've gone there, and so whatever that person wants, I have to find ways to place the person. They don't have to do that. They just have to pick the laws, pick the constitution, and then see what is the best decision to make that will work and that would advance the frontiers of our democracy. And so if there are several people in this country who do not have Ghana card, and yet the administration wants only the Ghana card to be used, and the Electoral Commission is just playing to the tune of the administration, and we come to the courts are the only place that we can stop the Electoral Commission. But if you come to the court and the courts are giving you date, that would make your case moot. That would let the people do whatever they want to do, and then later they want you to come to court and come and do what? You know, the Domelevo case. I was a lawyer for Koko Azan. In fact, Koko Azan was the first person to file a case in the Supreme Court against the dismissal of Domelevo. You know, and then he wrote to the court and begged the court for the case to be expedited, and they got angry with him. And myself, I was even invited to the court, and they said, because it got to a point where Domelevo was sacked, and then he went home, and so Koko Azan said, well, we cannot continue the case anymore. You see, and so we tried to withdraw the case. We didn't use the right process. I know I didn't use the right process because, yes, nobody was happy. We were not happy. So I wrote to the court and said, well, my client is not even giving me fuel to even come to court again to pursue the case. And they wrote to me and said, I have to come to court and come and do the right thing. And I was so scared. You see, so this is the situation. We are so scared. And then Domelevo has gone home. After the man had gone home for several months, and then the court now come out and so the decision to sack him is wrong. So to what use? To what effect? You see, so until all of us begin to speak, you see, boldly, fearlessly, and let the courts know that, look, if you want to come and take all of us and put us in jail because we are expressing these views, then do it.
But you see, in judgments of that nature, to be fair to the courts, the Constitution doesn't leave it at just saying that the decision to have sacked him was wrong. It also gives you the right to pursue and asks for compensation if the state was wrong in sacking you from the office that you were supposed to have been possessing. Do you understand? So maybe at some point, it gives you a choice of what to do, unless you decide not to pursue.
No, yes, but Annie, you know, going to court is not an easy thing. So Domelevo now should go and look for a lawyer and pay legal fees and go and file and pay filing fees and say, I'm seeking compensation. Why? Why so? When the court could have stopped all of that and said, no, government, you are wrong. You cannot sack this person. And the person will just remain at post and then do his work. And when his time is due to go, he will go. And then you are saying that, well, the court can decide to rule far later on, so the person will think about other remedies that may be open to him to. So you put more burden on him that he should go and file another case and seek compensation, which we don't even know whether he will get or not. So no, we should not tolerate those kind of ideas at all. You have to do justice at the time it is important to do it. You don't wait and say that, oh, even if I do it far later, a year later, there may be other avenues for the person to seek justice or to seek some kind of compensation and all of that. And so, no, I don't think that is the way to go. And of course, at the time they were dealing with the case, these were not the thoughts that they had, you know, and so it's very difficult. And then we are asked that we should not read anything into these things. You know, don't read politics into it. Don't read anything into it, because our courts are not political, they are not partisan, and so just take it that they are doing the right job. When we say that that's not the right thing they are doing, what are we supposed to do? Not to speak? And if we don't speak, you see, the point is that the dangerous thing is that if we don't speak and nobody is speaking about these things, then we don't know where this is heading.
But if a judge is appointed and you do not know the party card of this judge, and he passes judgments, and you read or you tag him with political colors, you are obviously not being fair. You can criticize the judgment and use maybe the same law why you think it is A or B, but tagging him with political colors, I think is unfair, unless you have reason, which in recent times we've seen the appointment of a judicial member, I won't be specific, which has political colors, which you have proof. And that one, when you do that, because that is an exception, you can deal with that on that angle. But to tag a judge whom you do not know, have no proof of political cards, it's just unfair.
Annie, if you listen to me carefully, I don't even make such allegations that judges have political colors because the judge belongs to this party and that party and all of that. I don't know about that. But what I'm saying is that decisions can come and you will see that whether the judge over there holds NDC color or NDC membership card or NPP membership card or CDP membership card, you will see that certain decisions come out that are intended to please the administration. I don't care what parties the judges belong to, but when they are ruling to please a particular administration, when over a period of time, a particular administration will never lose, a particular attorney general will never lose anything in our courts. Anything that he takes there, he will win. Anything he takes there. So everybody thinks that he's the best lawyer in the country because he's winning everything he takes there. And then you say that everybody else who is on the other side of all the cases that have gone to the courts is not doing well. It's not as good as him. That is why he's winning all the cases. It doesn't make sense. That is the point. So I'm not saying that a judge belongs to this party or I don't know about that. I don't even want to go there. But I'm saying that whether they even belong to one party or the other, they are supposed to do substantial justice. Once they get over there, they don't have to look at who are the parties in the matter. They just have to look at the law, look at the justice question matter. Look at it, and then look at what Justice Atuguba has said. How many times I was on your program, Good Afternoon Ghana, and we discussed this case before. How many times didn't we say that when you read that constitution, there's nothing in that constitution that says that at the time you file your nomination to contest to become a member of parliament, you should have renounced your allegiance or your citizenship of Kenya. They said renounce that before you are a member of parliament. Isn't that clear? Anybody can read that and understand it. Anybody. But when you see our court say that, oh, that should have started just because a particular side, in fact, just because NPP side is pushing that angle, that, oh, he should have renounced the citizenship and everything before he even filed. And when the constitution doesn't say so, there's nothing in the constitution that alludes to that at all. You can pick the constitution now and read. Right. And then the court agreed. You see, and so you said that, well, no, does it make sense? Doesn't make sense. The person had already even submitted his application in 2019. Right. 2019, long before he said that I'm no longer a Canadian citizen. So you go anytime you are ready, give me my certificate. I packed bag and baggage and left. And I came to Ghana to come and do politics. And then he came. And then when he came, he filed his everything, knowing that he had already submitted his application for renunciation. He filed everything. And before the election will be contested, the certificate had come. And yes, still, our court says that, no, at the time he was filing, he was still a citizen of this country. We don't care whether you put in your application or not. Look at and then you should know that there were two retired justices who spoke on the program 2 days ago. And one was Kwame Jan also, Justice Kwame Jan also. He talked about shielding the chairperson of the Electoral Commission from testifying in the last election petition case. How many times did we talk about that? We are saying that the Electoral Commission was performing a very, very important service for Ghanaians. It's not just a private matter. When two private people are fighting in court, and then you can bring in these rules and say that, well, if the person doesn't want to testify, it doesn't matter. You, the other side, you have to provide all the evidence you have to provide. This is a matter where the Commission is providing vital services, essential services for the country, and they are paid by the taxpayers' money. They are giving a lot of money, and so they owe it to Ghanaians to explain their stewardship. And yet still they use rules that should have been used only for private citizens who are in litigation. They use such rules to shield a commission that is supposed to perform a task for the whole country, and say because of this, the person who is supposed to perform this, the person says is not willing to explain anything to you Ghanaians, and that's all. The rules satisfy that. How? And now the judge is telling us that is misjudgment. But even before that, we saw it already. Many of us saw it already. Right. And we knew that they should have shielded this person. And yeah, they did. Yeah. They did. Right. And even the press, you talk about it for 1 week, in fact, not even 1 week, 2 days, and then you leave it. And then all these things are happening. We talk about them 1 or 2 days, we leave it. 1 or 2 days, we leave it. One day, this country will become a one-party state.
Lawyer Eric Dela Alifu, I'm grateful for your time this afternoon. Thank you for speaking with us. We'll engage you maybe when you return to Accra. Thank you for now. We'll leave it here. Lawyer Alifu is also a private legal practitioner joining in this debate on what has been thrown in by the retired Supreme Court Judge William Atuguba. we have just a few minutes, but we'll give you updates of what's happening with Akonsombo Dam spillage. We had the minister speak some words a few days back, which the MP for Northern Constituency has responded. The Mepe Development Association also responded. But the Information Ministry also met the press yesterday and gave us some updates. So I think we should have that with the minutes we have. Let's have what the Information Ministry is saying. Meanwhile, the Northern Development Association and the MP are asking some critical questions. That the number one is, if you indeed, ask the people to move, where were you expecting them to move to? That question still hangs. But here is the Deputy Information Minister and the Deputy CEO of VRA when they met the press yesterday.
The nature and quantum of what has happened can fairly be known after the water levels are completely down, and then the technical people can be sent in to assess. If whatever amount mentioned by Mr. Kenzo, which is the 20 million from VRA, what the Agric Ministry has announced, what the 5 million that the Minister for Roads and Highways have announced, what the Ministry of Education, Sanitation and Water Resources through GAMA is yet to announce, and what the central government is yet to announce. Even after deploying that, if it is not sufficient, because this is ongoing, as and when the assessment requires that we inject some resources into some particular areas to ensure that they are able to get their farms back, they are able to get their fish ponds back, government will do that. And this was mentioned by the president at MEPE last week. He mentioned that he is aware that schools have to close down. He is aware that some farms have been lost. He is aware that some people have lost their fish ponds. And we are going to commit everything to make sure we restore those properties that have been lost. Yes. And Hanan also...
I can stand here to say that there will be no additional increase of spillage. We are tracking the data that is coming, and we are going to control the gate per the data that we receive. For knowledge, at least yesterday we had some drops in volumes, so at least we've managed the amount of water that we are spilling out now. We've cut off some volumes out of it.
The schools, hospitals, markets and economic activities have been affected, further compounding the difficulties you are facing. It is a difficult time, and we understand the urgency of the situation. And it is in moments like these that we must come together as a community, as a region, and as a nation to support those who are suffering the most. Today, our company, Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, a corporate concerned citizen, is undertaking a humanitarian mission to provide assistance to the communities affected by this disaster. We understand that good sanitary environments, clean water, safety and sustenance are essential for survival and well-being. Therefore, we are providing you with token of waste bins, plastic buckets, brooms and other sanitary items.
So the updates are that companies or private companies, Zoom Lion, From Jospon Group, and other companies are still donating. We also had engineers and planners going in yesterday with trucks of goods to support the victims. We've had political parties, we've had political leaders, we've had the president, vice, and all that. Private companies are still helping with the support. And Metro TV is also keeping track on bringing you up-to-the-minute updates of what's happening with the dam spillage and the persons who have been affected, over thousands of people. And we'll bring you some more later on, subsequently in Newsnight as well. This is where Good Afternoon Ghana will allow us to end the program now, and we will make way for the entertainment review. My name is Ania Fwampofo. We'll continue bringing you some more analysis on Metro TV.